Alright, so in this video, if you see from all these 3x3s, I'm going to be talking about different mechanisms and what has came from when the Rubik's Cube first came out in 3x3 to what we have to today. So it's like from the original 1977 Hungarian 3x3 all the way up to like the Oolong, which I don't have very many 3x3 to show you what has happened in between those, but I do have some of the more important ones that introduce some of the more important cubing mechanism design that have been very important to the newer 3x3. First of all, we have is this original 1978 3x3, Hungarian 3x3. It's got this basic blocky mechanism, very basic blocky cubic mechanism, pretty standard Rubik's type mechanism. And that mechanism was, that basic blockiness mechanism has been used for a long time, from like 1977 all the way up to like 2007. So that was like 30 years. Or like 20 years or so. And then during 2007 or 2006, whichever you want to say, it's like, that's when the Chinese cubes, like, Chinese cube companies like Alpha, YJ, Dancing, Q for You, Edison, Maru, and many others were producing speed cubes, because, hey, there's competition and people are speed cubing, and we just hate how blocky and not so super fast the Rubik's mechanism, Rubik's Cube, Rubik's brand is. So, yeah, basically, we've got cubes that are like this Euclid 3x3, which has an adjustable core, which that was introduced. That was like around when adjustable cores were the thing. Back then, this old cube does have an adjustable core, but you have to take off this center sticker and then pry off the cap underneath it. And that's a little difficult. And then when you get it under, you have to unscrew the screw to adjust it, or you have to take a screwdriver, adjust the screw, and that's just a little bit of pain. But with this is just easy, because you can just pop off the cap with your fingernail and it just easily comes off to adjust it. But still, the mechanism was still the basic blocking mechanism. Yeah, and from 2007, like from 1977 to 2007, basically the mechanism stayed the same. There was just some slight minor changes between the cube and brands. It's like comparing Mario Oolong to the Oolong version 2, or the Fancy Swing Ren version 1 to the version 2, where there's some slight changes, but it's not that super majorly noticeable. Yeah, and we still got cubes that has blocking mechanism, but yeah, in mid 2007, Alpha and many other companies released newer cubes that still have the blocking mechanism, but now it's changed a little so that the edges would not just be this big block sticking out, and they shaped down in the corner basin. They've changed a little bit, but not much, really. Still have the basic blockiness, but just a little bit more of a difference. So it's not completely 100% super blocky Rubik's-like mechanism. Yeah, we got that. And then, that was like that until 2010. 2010 was the major introduction to all modern day speed cube, 3x3 speed cube. Diane, released the Guhong. I think it was early 2010. Yeah, and that Guhong introduced many major things that is now common for most speed cubes. It introduced a 45-degree corner cut, where it's like a standard to have 45-degree corner cut, and then reverse corner cut. And then it also introduced the split corner and split edge design for stickerless puzzle to be made, and it also introduced a whole new mechanism where the corners and edges weren't so super blocky like on this 3x3 right here. The edges are completely new, revolutionized design. And it was just a very, very, very technologically advanced. And what that gave us was like a whole new way of thinking of how we can make the mechanism. But still, again, with these order cubes, pre-Diane Guhong, not very much of reverse corner cutting, and not very much of 45 or line-to-line corner cutting. You would have to be lucky to get a cube to be line-to-line corner cutting, pre-Guhong era. And the Guhong is actually the second Diane 3x3. The first one was the Diane tie-in, which basically the Diane tie-in was sort of similar to this type C3 as in mechanism. But I don't really have the tie-in, but if you look at the tie-in, it looks like it does not belong with the other 5 Diane 3x3s. Yeah. And then, jump 1 year later, in the spring of 2011, is when the Diane Lun Hoi came out. The Diane Lun Hoi is a special Diane cube because it's one of the few Diane cubes that have weird mechanism where it had sort of this double edge like this corner's not quite the same as the other diamond cubes, but the most important thing about the Lunhoi is the torpedoes. It was the very first cube to introduce the torpedoes, and that was revolutionized, that we can have a cube with torpedoes and have it so that it can be virtually unpoppable up to a certain extent and stuff like that. So we can have better, more insurance that it will not pop as easily. And then finally, jump 2 or 3 years later, in 2013, like the summer of 2013, not summer but spring of 2013, well actually late fall, late winter, like early 2013, the Feng C-Swing came out, and the Feng C-Swing introduced this type of edge design, this type of corner design, along with these centers, which these centers are basically like a normal center piece, with the additional edge wing comes out, that surrounds the centerpiece, and that ensures that the edges go under, like there's parts of it that hook underneath it and stuff like that. It's basically like what the V-Cube 3x3 should have been if the V-Cube company had followed the initial patent design for the 3x3. And so this is what the V-Cube 3 should have been when it came out a year earlier. Which the V-Cube 3 is not what they said it would be. It's actually more of like the Shenzhou Aurora / Guhong type mechanism. And that's a bit disappointing. Yeah. Very disappointing. But overall, it's really good. And I can't really think of any other newer mechanism design features that are now becoming a standard feature in these newer cubes. So, question to you all is, what do you think will be the next major breakthrough in the cubing mechanism, as in what will be the next standard thing that will be applied to all 3x3s coming after that?